Testing. Okay. Well, I don't know. I look like I'm in a strange place. I need to, I think I can turn off this light. And okay. What? Oh, it's a little bit. What? Ah. Hello, Philippe. Hello, Tinguish. Oh, gosh. Okay, let's actually switch this to the medium size. Okay, how are you guys doing? I'm trying things in a little bit of a different way. Um, that's cool. G plates. Have not tried G plates. It's not something I've ever really thought about. So let's get the things. Here are my notifications here. Making a Discord server. Okay. Just want to see. Should be streaming at 60. Okay. Yeah, he used to use the G plates quite a lot. I seem to be. How is the stream quality for you guys? I think we should be good. Just gonna check out. So Okay. Hello, R Knight Petrichor. Hello, Madame Knees. Let's get these things up here. Seeing how things look. Okay, let's actually. Yeah, I know. Testing something. And I think, okay. Okay, I don't think this is going to work the way I want it to. So I'm going to be right back. Testing, testing. Okay, am I back? It's still being a little weird, huh? Yeah. Oh, let me test this. It does seem a bit better. Okay, so that teaches me that I need to. Hello, Phoenix. Okay, so we're going to try doing things this way. Yeah. Yeah, so last time I forgot to plug in the Ethernet cord and the stream went fine. So I thought um maybe I can do Wi-Fi, or I can do a Wi-Fi repeater in here and plug into that. But it seems like that can still cause lag. So I'm still going to use Ethernet. Yeah, there's always going to be something. But anyway, I don't want to do too much. You're not here to watch me troubleshoot the stream, so I'm not going to go further than that. Now, we were going to talk about articles today. Yeah. So, we were going to talk a little bit about articles here. And let's start off with, I believe I have the articles in Obsidian already. And so let's go to Dawn. So I want to actually spend some time thinking about how articles are used. Someone sent me a book about articles, but unfortunately I have not had time to read through it. I did have, I did take a quick look at it, and that was a little helpful. So we have a definite, indefinite distinction, right? Right? However, definiteness is a little bit, it's a little bit complicated. And the ways that definite and indefinite articles can be used in languages are quite variable. So my thought is, let's see, is I was thinking about maybe trying different situations. So, like the key definite situation is if there is a specific definite, right? Right? And that is, okay. So you'd have something like, uh, yes, if I, oh, this one, it's sha, fi. See, something like this, right? So where we have this one, in this example, by shafai au tajwo pachi tiujihu, right? Right? That's the fairy called a deer. It's just calling out to any deer, calling a previously unknown or unspecified deer, right? If instead we change this to and we should make this the blue color. When we make this B, the fairy called the deer. One interpretation would be a specific fae calls, and this is actually calls, right? This is calls because there is no tense to it. A specific deer. Right? However, there are other ways that these definites could be used that we could however, my question is, like, how do articles interact with general statements? Because so in English, we have this interpretation. The fairy calls the deer, right? And that interpretation is going to assume, okay, specific fairy, specific deer, right? I should have chosen an animal that has a clear plural form in English because that's going to be a problem. We have the fairy calls a deer. We have a specific fairy calls unspecified or unknown deer, right? Then we go have a fairy calls a deer. This is going to be interpreted sort of like in English, this will be interpreted most likely as like introducing both the fairy and the deer. It's not necessarily that they're unknown, but like this is the first time we're hearing of them in the discourse. Now, another thing, in English, we can have the fairies call a deer. This is kind of assuming, okay, specific group of fairies. Unknown deer. But then fairies call the deer. This has two interpretations in English. The most common one would be specific or and this is let's actually switch this out. Okay, let's say bat. Now we have like something that we know the singular and plural forms. We can be clearer. This makes this interpretation a bit clearer. You could still have specific fairies with a specific group of bats, or we can have generic statement about fairies and bats. Right? Right? But this is not the favored structure for this. Most likely what we would say in that situation is we'd say fairies call bats. And that is strongly just a generic statement. So this is what I'm talking about. In English, this is what we do. However, in other languages, that can be different. So let's say in Spanish, if you want that generic statement, I think it's much more common for you to use this kind of structure. So you'd say las hadas llaman a los murciélagos. And that would be I know I'm ignoring the gender on that, but basically this is usually the generic statement. And you can't really like hadas llaman murciélagos. You can do that, but Spanish generally just uses articles more than English. There are situations where, like, the plural does in English is typically interpreted as a generic statement. You can have a saying like the Chinese eat with chopsticks. It's used a lot with ethnic terms. It can be controversial because depending on what you're declaring, some people may find it offensive. But like that's a thing. Um, it feels like you're like turning them into like turning people into a monolith. That's why some people object to that usage. But so the question is like, do we want something more like English or more like romance in this specific situation? And I kind of am leaning toward the romance thing. One thing is that we have the definite article. We also have, let's see, if we go, let's just search for article. We have sha, we have ta, yeah. So ta only has singular forms. Okay. I think there was a vote on that, and you guys decided there were only singular forms. Let me just double check the other notes. Yeah. No, we do have plural forms. Oh, I see. So as the number, it only has singular forms. We do get plural forms. So let's actually make sure that we know what those plural forms look like. Yeah. So we want to we want God. And then we want to go through Now, these might be sort of made by analogy, but I think we can still just run it through sound changes. Because, like, you would have, like, nouns that function the same way. Yeah. So plural affixes. So this is e, this is pug, this is pau, this is ab, and then there's nothing, and then there's ping. If we like assumed that they went to Dawn from here, if it had like historically developed. What's going on here? I don't know why it's being slow. Lexergy is being weird for me. Oh, I didn't know you could do this. Suddenly I have a split screen. What? Okay. we would end up with Taji, Tadpool, Tadpole, and Taza, Taza, Ta, Tapwa, Tap, Tapsha. Okay, so merge this. Oh, yeah. Taji. Okay. So we have the indefinite article will agree with class and the number. Can I do a /t? Okay, that's not how that works. Okay, I just have to do it manually. Okay. And I need to figure out another thing that I'd better document is, let's actually, so. Uh-huh. So we have, so we need to have, okay, Tajshi, Tajwu does not, Taja does not, Tajwi, Tajwi, Tajwi does, Ta does not, Tabja does, Tabja does this. Okay. So what I just did here is, so the ones with an asterisk, just one asterisk. Okay, I didn't do the plurals. Okay, Taji, Taji. The asterisk will trigger the lenition mutation. The double asterisk, there we go. It's just important to have that for the future. And I can do that. I can mark all of that here. Yes. Okay. Now, let's keep talking a little bit about this. Now that I have this. So let's, just for the sake of consistency, I see what happened. Okay. I think, so let me see. Okay, I think I'm going to, Wait, what? Oh. Interesting. Okay. So where should I put that? I don't know if the nasal mutation will ever pop up. Okay. So all of that to say it would be Taja. And actually, no. This would be so. Our So our question is, do we want to do this kind of structure? So if we have say if we have Vaishya Phi Fafo Sha Shapu And one thing to note is the article itself in the accusative does not have the definite article in the accusative does not have a plural distinction, but you do have that in the word. Now, this has one thing that is similar to Romance languages. In Spanish, you can say hadas llaman a unos murciélagos. Las hadas llaman unas hadas llaman a unas murciélagos, right? The structure is different from English because in English there is no plural indefinite article. However, in this language we do have plural indefinite articles. We can have this where we got, say, tadpole. Oh, so Philippe, Just trying to see if that's working. It doesn't seem to be. So, yeah, that's great. That's great, Philippe. So your country's been racing. So you watching the Olympics? I have not been paying attention to the Olympics. Trying to figure out what's this. Where is... Oh, it's raining. Okay. I don't know why it just decided that my... Okay, I need to figure something out about my setup because so we can have this. We can have didn't match the color, right? Sorry, that's gonna... And then what? Yeah. So we can have this happen. Some fairies call some bats. And so this is the way you translate it in English, but in English this is optional. In this language it will be more obligatory because this is actually an indefinite article rather than... Been working on a new font, Philippe. That's great. So my assumption is, my thinking is, since we have this, we will go with a more sort of romance style interpretation. And this should be... Let's clean this up. This is... where this... Yeah. I think that works. We can go back and revise this later to put more nuance. Some other things we want to consider. Some other things. Proper names. So, thinking just off the top of my head, languages that I know. So, English, articles, not typically use. So, you just call me George, right? If you say the George, that has like a special interpretation. Like, I have had someone once call me the George Corley, and it was specifically talking about me as like a well-known individual. I did not react very well to that at the time because it was like extremely weird to me. But yeah, but you hear it more with like actual celebrities, like the Brad Pitt, something like that, right? Spanish, just running articles can be used if there's a title. So, like, you can't call me, you don't usually call me El George, right? But you could call me El Doctor George, right? Or El Señor George Corley, right? Right? There's nuance to that as to when you would use that. Ho-chunk. In terms of languages that I know that actually use articles. Special name particle that's used in some situations. So you might see Georgia, but you would never say George Ra with the actual definite article. So that's something to consider. Maybe I will do a little bit of research on it, but that's a few different situations. Anybody offhand know a language that has definite articles just all the time with proper names? Another thing is, like, this is a personal name. We do use articles all the time with place names, which is like, you know, we have what is the Everglades? The Rocky Mountains. But it's organization names too. It's usually happens more when the name itself is descriptive of something. Which, like English and Spanish given names, are not. They tend to be opaque names, right? Spanish examples. Well, that's not a description, but Los Angeles. La Sierra Nevada. For some reason, I'm just pulling like U.S. place names that come from Spanish. La Sierra Nevada is a good example because it's the snowy ridge. Yeah. Oh, somebody just followed. Hello, Holy Connie. I don't know why my thank you for the subscription. Sierra Nevada. Right? So you get some things with definite articles for place names in some languages. Yeah, Las Vegas is another one. Las Vegas. Is it the meadow? Look it up. Las Vegas. Oh, I have one that's on here. Just quickly. Vega. It's, yes, meadow, fertile lowland, grassy plain. Okay, yeah. A lot of cities were named after saints. Yeah, although that's obviously not going to... So those ones, because they're personal names, they generally are not gonna have a definite article. We're just talking about how like proper names can sometimes have definite articles, sometimes not. And so I'm very limited because like I know I have familiarity with 3 languages that do definite articles. And then another, but like one of those I don't know that well. Ho Chunk, I don't know that well how they use definite articles. Other than you can't use them with names. I think that Ho Chunk, it's usually interpreted as something specific. One thing they only have, like Ho Chunk has, like, let me think. Thing is, I can't construct examples in Ho Chunk and test them, but Ho Chunk has the ra suffix and the I think I need the hijan suffix. Hijan. Ra is definite. Hijan is indefinite. And Hijan actually comes from the word for one. In fact, they changed the word for one to Hijankira, only one. Because it's but I think the interpretation is similar to English, but I don't like I haven't lived with Ho Chunk enough to have much intuition about it. But what I'm thinking is it's basically so Kat, if you weren't here, the thing about I want to see what's going on here. I set up these. Oh, this is weird. Don't mind me. I'm just trying to figure out. Okay. There we go. Yeah. Okay, I can do that. Okay. Like the West Indies? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the West Indies is an example. I'm talking about things in general, right? I'm just talking about the oh wow. Okay. Yeah. That's that is that is definitely like a place name that has a different article. But I think so the Adirondacks, yeah. Adirondacks is not, but I think we'll definitely have definite articles with some place names. With proper names, I'm not entirely sure. And maybe we can do articles with proper names. Okay, this is all about English. I don't want English. Somebody sent me a nice book about articles, and I wonder. Oh, hello, Madeline. How are you doing? I mean, you know, there's there's always time to say hi. Let's go see. Let's go see. Let's see. I'm gonna search in this and see. Okay, so I'm finding this one. You're doing good? Yeah. Okay, here, this actually is useful information. So, definite articles with proper nouns. Argue is such inherently definite and don't need. Some languages use a different marker with names and proper nouns. Okay, so Right. So in English, if you modify the noun, you have to have this is missing the so okay. In Ottawa, you do require it with proper nouns, apparently. Yeah. Oh, Irish? Okay, Irish has so with Easter, you have to say the Easter basically. Okay, German, okay, you can say der Thomas. Yeah, the Philippines is so if we just focus on personal names, because personal names are like the key, like the key example of um of a name, right? I think that we could now this is saying Irish is um let's actually see if we can. So un na. Uh oh, come on. This is not helpful. Okay. Try scholar. Okay, this might have. So names of countries usually take the definite article. Okay. Interesting. It looks like. What do you mean copying Hawaiian places? How does the Hawaiian article work? I think let me jump back to this. So it says in German you can optionally use it with like people's names. And I kind of came into this with the idea that I kind of want proper nouns to have the definite article. Um, do we have a word for fairy in I kind of think I want this to happen. But before I like go deep into that, we're going to want to yeah. We're going to want to work out what the naming conventions are. Um let's just pull up Sylvan notes. So Bukwati Gaffa Inferi. So what is where did that come from? I mean, um, Kat, I think that Polynesian languages do use articles differently. I'm just not familiar enough to like use that as inspiration. Trying to get the let's see. So I'm going to, so if we have Bukua, Bukuathi, yeah, okay. If we translate this into Dawn, Buhuashi, Buhuashi. And then if we had, let's get the Sha. It's not going to, oh, there's no, Shabuhuashi. And if we also have the other could be a thing that could be considered sort of a proper name, not exactly, is Fai. Fai. If we go to Ifek. Let's go all the way there so that we. A place. Okay. A place called The Gym sounds like Jim owns it. It's all about what you're familiar with. It's all about what you know. And then Shafai. Shafai. Listen, Phoenix, yes, I agree. It does. It's gonna be exactly the gym. um, what about the George? Does the George sound like a place? So what does this look like in Dusk? Shafai ba shabuhas buhash. I don't know if we want to still call it just the world. I think did I go through a document? Oh, I was going to go and document all of my I think it could be something that's different between Dawn and Dusk, actually. I'm thinking it's not. I'm not aware of any similarly pronounced words, so I'm thinking it refers to whoever the best known person with the name George is. That's usually what the way you interpret that in English. I need to. We have a bunch of this stuff. We're coming to the end. I think actually next week we probably will actually do a little detour on like how names are constructed. And then I was about to do a poll, but I think actually what I want to do is mentions for personal names. How the definite article interacts. I think that is probably the best course of action. And then we can sort things out from there. But we have run out of time. So I think we made some progress. I think I'm definitely going to say like generic statements use the definite article the way like Spanish does. Usually like with plural reference, right? The George sounds like a restaurant. Yes. That's entirely possible. But I think that there is a good argument to I think I kind of want one of two scenarios. Either we get proper names always require a definite article, or they can optionally take a definite article. And that could be different between the two. But this has actually piqued my interest in how are we going to actually do personal names. I think they're going to be mostly transparent names. And if we go mostly transparent names, then definite articles will actually help differentiate them. We can... personal names kind of require some level of world building. So let's actually come back to that. But I think actually that I can still do a poll up front saying, like, are they required? Are they not required? Or is it different between the two dialects? And then we can leave that with that. But thank you all for watching. It's nice to have people here. We'll come back to this next time. And I'll actually go looking at that book to see more about articles. But I think next time we're going to take a little detour and talk about how personal names will work. Something I never did with Ndakaga, because I never really thought that Ndakaga would... I mean, eventually I would like to make dragon names. That's something I will consider also doing in the future in a special. But I think it's super important for fairy for some reason. I just feel like I want to establish how personal names work. So, with that all said, everyone, thank you for watching and happy conlaying.